Wait lang.
So, a pleasant evening to each one of you and to our beloved teacher, Ma'am May Joy. Today, we are going to present the complete set of Module 1 to 7. So, the teachers and the school curriculum, the term curriculum refers to the lesson and academic content taught in a school or in a specific course or program. School curriculum provides high quality teaching experiences which excite so today for the module 1 it types of curricula in a school. It has a 7 types. First is the recommended curriculum, written, taught, supported, assessed, and learned in heading implicit curriculum. For the module 1, lesson 2, the teacher as curricularist. Module 2, the teacher as knower of curriculum. For the lesson 1, the school curriculum definition, nature of scope. Lesson 2, approaches school curriculum. Lesson 3, curriculum development, processes, and models. For the lesson 4, foundations of curriculum development. For the module 3, the teacher as a curriculum. Lesson 1, fundamentals of curriculum designers. Lesson 2, approaches to curriculum designing. While for the module 4, the teacher as a curriculum implementer and manager. Module 4, lesson 1, it's all about the implementing the design curriculum as a change process. For the lesson 2, implementing a curriculum daily in the classroom. And for the lesson 3, stakeholders in curriculum implementation. And for the module 5, outcome-based education basis for enhanced teacher education curriculum. Module 5, lesson 1, it's all about outcome-based education basis for teacher preparation curriculum. And last for the module 7, curricular landscape in the 21st century classroom. Lesson 1, the 21st century curricular landscape in the classroom. And for the lesson 2, the final action for curriculum materials. So now, for the first reporter, will report about the module 1.
Module 1, Lesson 1. Yeah. So, no formal, non-formal, or informal education exists without a curriculum. Classroom will be empty with no curriculum. Teachers will have nothing to do if there is no curriculum. Curriculum is the heart of the teaching profession. Every teacher is guided by some sort of curriculum in the classroom and in the schools. So in our current Philippine educational system, different schools are established in different educational levels, which have corresponding recommended curricula. The educational levels are basic education, technical vocational education, and higher education. So in basic education, this level includes kindergarten, grade 1 to grade 6 for elementary, and for secondary, grade 7 to grade 10. For the junior high school and grade 11 and grade 12 for the senior high school. Each of the levels has its specific recommended curriculum. The new basic curriculum levels are provided in the K to 12 to enhance curriculum of 2013 of the Department of Education. Technical vocational education. This is post-secondary technical vocational educational and training taking care of technical education and skills development authority or TESDA for the textbook track in senior high school of DepEd. DepEd and TESDA work in close coordination. And the last is higher education. So higher education, this includes the uh, bachelor degree and the graduate degrees, which are under the regulation of the Commission of Higher Education or the CHED. So, next po. So, types of curricula in schools. Recommended curriculum. So, in recommended curriculum, almost of all curricula found in our schools are recommended. For basic education, they are recommended by Department of Education. For higher education by the Commission on Higher Education and for vocational education by TESDA, or Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. These three government agencies regulate Philippine education. These recommendations come in the form of memoranda or policies, standards, and guidelines. So other professional organization or international bodies like UNESCO also recommended curricula in schools. Um, written, written curriculum. This includes, I know, written curriculum. This includes documents based on the recommended curriculum. They come in the form of course of study, syllabi, modules, books, or instructional guides, among others. A pocket of this written curriculum is the teacher's lesson plan. So the most recent written curriculum is the K to 12 of K to 12 for the Philippine Basic Education. Next is tough curriculum. From what has been written or planned, the curriculum has to be implemented or taught. The teacher and the learners will put life to the written curriculum. The skill of the teacher to facilitate learning based on the written curriculum with the aid of instructional materials and facilities will be necessary. So the tough curriculum will depend largely on the teaching style of the teacher and the learning style of the learners. Next is supported curriculum. This is described as support materials that the teacher needs to make learning and teaching meaningful. These include print materials like books, charts, posters, worksheets, or non-print materials like PowerPoint presentation, movies, slides, models, realize, mock-ups, and other electronic illustrations. Supported curriculum also include facilities where learning occurs outside or inside the building. So so these include a supported curriculum also include facilities where learning occurs outside or inside the four-walled building. So these include the playground, science laboratory, audiovisual rooms, zoo, museum, market, or the plaza. So these are the places are where authentic learning through direct experiences. Next, assess curriculum. Tough and supported curricula have to be evaluated to find out if the teacher has succeed or not in facilitating learning. In the process of teaching and the end of every lesson of teaching episode, an assessment is made. It can either assessment for learning, assessment as learning, or assessment of learning. So if the process is to find the process of learning, then the assessed curriculum is for learning. But if it is so to find of how much been learned or mastered, then it is assessment of learning. Either such curriculum is the assessed curriculum. Learn curriculum. How do we know if the student has learned? We always believe that if a student change behavior, he or she has learned. For example, from a non-reader to a reader, from not knowing to knowing, or from being disobedient to being obedient. The positive outcome of teaching is an indicator of learning. So these are measured by tools in assessment, which can indicate the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor outcomes. Learned curriculum will also demonstrate higher order and critical thinking and lifelong skills. Next po. So hidden implicit curriculum. This curriculum is not deliberately planned, but has a great impact on the behavior of the learner. Peer influences, peer influence, school environment, media, parental pressures, so, so, societal, societal changes, cultural practices, natural calamities are some factors that create the hidden curriculum. Teachers will be sensitive and aware of this hidden curriculum. So teachers must have good foresight to include this in the written curriculum in order to bring to the surface are hidden. So in every teacher's classroom, not all these are curricula by be present on one time. Many of them are deliberately planned, like the recommended, written, taught, supported, and assessed, and learned curricula. However, a hidden curricula is implied, and the teacher may or may not be able to predict its influence on learning. So all of these have significant role on the life of the teacher as facilitator of learning and have direct implication to the life of the learners. Next po. So lesson 2, the teacher as a curriculist. The teacher as a curriculist, number 1 is knows the curriculum. Learning begins with knowing. The teacher as a learner starts with knowing about the curriculum, the subject matter or the content. So as a teacher, one of need is to master what are included in the curriculum. It is acquiring academic knowledge, and both formal or informal. So it is the mastery of the subject matter. Number 2, writes the curriculum. A classroom teacher takes record of knowledge concepts, subject matter, or content. These need to be written or preserved. So the teacher write books, modules, laboratory manuals, instructional guides, and reference materials. So in paper or electronic media as a curriculum writer or reviewer. Number 3, plans the curriculum. A good curriculum has to be planned. It is the role of the teacher to make a yearly, monthly, or daily plan of the curriculum. So this will serve as a guide in the implementation of the curriculum. So the teacher takes into consideration several factors in planning curriculum. So these factors include the learners, the support material, time, subject matter, or the content. So the desired outcomes, the, con- the context of the learners, among others, by doing this is the teacher becomes a curriculum planner. Next po. Number 4, initiate the curriculum. In cases where the curriculum is recommended to the schools from DepEd, SHED, TESDA, UNESCO, UNICEF, or other educational agencies for improvement of quality education, the teacher is obligated to implement. So implementation of a new curriculum requires to mindedness of the teacher and the full belief that the curriculum will enhance the learning. Number 5, innovates the curriculum. Creativity and innovation are hallmarks of an excellent teacher. A curriculum is always dynamic, hence it keeps on changing. So from the content, strategies, ways of doing, blocks of time, ways of evaluating, this is kind of students and skills of the teachers. So one cannot find a single internal curriculum that would uh, perpetually fit. So a good teacher innovates the curriculum and thus become a curriculum innovator. Number 6, implements the curriculum. The curriculum that remains recommended or written will never serve its purpose. Somebody has to implement it. As I mentioned previously, at the heart of schooling is the curriculum. It is the role where the teacher becomes the curriculum implementator. So the teacher is at the height of an engagement with the learners with support materials in order to achieve the desired outcome. And last, number 7, evaluates the curriculum. So how how can one determine if the desired learning outcomes have been achieved? It is the curriculum working? Does it bring the desired results? What do outcomes reveal? Are the learners achieving? Are there some practices that should be modified? Should the curriculum will be modified, terminated, or continue? So these are some practices that should be defined. No, sorry. Should the curriculum be modified? These are some few questions that need to help of a curriculum evaluator. So the person is the teacher. So the 7 different roles are those which are responsible teacher that's in the classroom every day. So doing this multi-phase work qualifies a teacher to be a curriculist. So as a curriculist, a teacher will be knowing writing, implementing, innovating, initiating, and evaluating. So the curriculum in this school and classroom, just like the role models and advocates in curriculum and curriculum develop who have shown the way. So thank you po. Lay, okay na ko, Lay.
Okay, okay, wait lang ah. Galag. Hindi ko pa O, tututod ka, Riet? Tututod ka.
Na connection.
Maglaro na?
Di ba siya mo? Di ba ako makakal?
Kailangan mo akal?
Si Adonis, naka-unmute.
Okay na?
Okay na.
Module 2. The teacher as a knower of curriculum. Next slide. Lesson 1. The school curriculum definition, nature, and scope. Some definitions of curriculum. Curriculum is a planned and guided set of learning. Curriculum is a planned and guided discipline. It is a written document that systematically describe goal plan, objectives, content, learning activities, evaluation procedures, and so forth. Points of view about the curriculum can either be traditional or progressive according to the person's philosophical, psychological, and even psychological orientation. Curriculum from traditional point of view. Robert M. Hutchins views curriculum as a permanent studies where rules of grammar, reading, reading, rhetoric, logic, and mathematics for basic education are emphasized. Arthur Bestor. Arthur Bestor as an eventually believes that the mission of the school should be intellectual training, hence, curriculum should focus on the fundamental intellectual disciplines of grammar. Joseph Schwab. Joseph Schwab thinks that the sole source of the curriculum is a discipline, thus the subject areas such as science, mathematics, social studies, English, and many more. And Philip Phoenix assert that curriculum should consist entirely of knowledge knowledge which comes from various disciplines. Next slide. Next po.
Module 3 po.
Lesson 2. Okay, next.
Naka-record pa ba, Lay? Daw wala na naka-record.
Yun na.
Next naman yung lesson 2.
Lesson 2.
Naka-record yung
Approaches.
wala pa man po si record.
Okay na?
Sige.
Lesson 2. Approaches to school curriculum. 3 ways of approaching curriculum. First, curriculum as a content or body of knowledge. It is quite common for traditionalists to equate a curriculum as a topic outline, subject, matter, or concept to be included in the syllabus or a book. Syllabus. There are 4 ways of presenting the content in the curriculum. There are, first, topical approach. Second, concept approach. 3, thematic approach and modular approach. Next. Second, curriculum as a process. It seems as a scheme about the practice of teaching. It is not a package of materials as a syllabus of content to be covered. 3, curriculum as a product. It is expressed in form of outcomes which are referred to as the achieved learning outcomes. Next. Lesson
Next.
3. Curriculum development process and models. Curriculum development process is a dynamic process involving many different people and procedures. Development cannot change, which is systematic. 4 phases. First, curriculum planning. Curriculum planning considers the school vision, mission, and goals. Second, curriculum designing. Curriculum designing is the way curriculum is conceptualized to include the selection and organize of content, the selection and organization of learning experiences or activities, and the selection. Third, curriculum implementing. Curriculum implementing is putting into action plan which is based on curriculum design in the classroom setting or the learning environment. Fourth, curriculum evaluating. Curriculum evaluating determines the exact extent to which the desired outcomes have been achieved. Next po. Curriculum development process. First, Ralph-Tyler model. 4 basic principles in HIP posited 4 fundamental principles which are illustrated and answered to the following questions. First, what education purposes should schools seek to attain? Second, what educational experiences can be provided that is likely to attain these purposes? Third, how can these educational experiences be effectively organized? 4, how can we determine whether these purposes are being attained or not. Next po.
Wait lang yun ah.
Number 2, Hilda Taba models. Grassroots approaching Hilda Taba improved on Tyler's model. She believed the teachers should participate in developing a curriculum. She presented 7 major steps to her linear model, which are the following. First, diagnosis of learners' needs and expectation of the larger society. Second, formulation of learning objectives. Third, selection of learning contents. Fourth, organization of learning contents. Fifth, selection of learning experiences. And last, determination of what to evaluate and the means of doing it. Next. Three, Gallens, Saylor, and William Alexander Curriculum Model Galden. Saylor and William Alexander in 1974 viewed curriculum development as a consisting of 4 steps. 4 steps is first, goals, objectives, and domains. Second, curriculum designing. Third, curriculum implementation. And fourth, evaluation. Next. Tejasa.
Okay, for the lesson 4, Foundations of Curriculum Development, Foundations of Curriculum. Philosophical foundation John Dewey influenced the use of learning by doing. There are many philosophies in education, but we will illustrate only those presented by Ornstein and Hankin in 2004. Perennialism aimed to educate the rational person, cultivate intellect. B. Essentialism aimed to promote intellectual growth of learners to become competent. C. Progressivism aimed to promote democratic social living. And D. Reconstructionism aimed to improve and reconstruct society. Education for a change. Next, please. So for the historical foundation will show to use the chronological development along a timeline. So historical foundation can promote a sense of freedom and encourage educational reform. So through this history, we learn that programs are considered pioneering due to the different philosophies. According to Franklin Debot, 1876 to 1956, Werit Charter, 1875 to 1952, and William Kilpatrick, 1875 to 1952, and Harold Bragg, 1986 to 1960. And third is the psychological foundation of curriculum. Psychology provides a basis to understand the teaching and learning process. It unifies elements of the learning process. So psychological foundation is based on the individual differences. So every student has its own unique or personality, and they have the differences in their learning and skills. And it also provides informations about the teaching process. Next, please. Next reporter for the module 3.
Module 3, the teacher as a curriculum. Lesson 1, fundamentals of curriculum designing. First, the curriculum change is inevitable, necessary, and desirable. Earlier, it was stated that one of the characteristics of curriculum is its being dynamic. Number two, the curriculum is a product of its time. A relevant curriculum should respond to changes brought about by current social forces, philosophical positions, psychological principles, new knowledge, and educational reforms. And this is also called timeliness. Curriculum changes. Number three, the curriculum changes made earlier exist concurrently with newer curriculum changes. A revision in a curriculum starts and ends slowly. More often, curriculum is gradually phased in a phase out. Thus, the changes that occur can coexist and oftentimes overlap for long periods of time. Number four, the curriculum change depends on people who will implement the change. Teachers who will implement the curriculum should be involved in its development and should know how to design a curriculum. Number five, curriculum development is a cooperative group activity. Group decision in some aspects of curriculum development are suggested. Number six, curriculum development is a decision-making process made from choices of alternatives. A curriculum developer or designer must decide what contents to teach, philosophy, or point of view to support, how to provide for multicultural groups, what methods of strategies, and what type of evaluations to use. Number seven, curriculum development is an ongoing process. Continuous monitoring, examinations, evaluation, and improvement of curricula are to be considered in the design of the curriculum. Number eight, curriculum development is a more effective if it is comprehensive process rather than a piecemeal. A curriculum design should be based on careful plan, should clearly establish standard outcomes, support resources, and needed available, and should equip teaching staff pedagogically. Number nine, the curriculum development is more effective when it follows a systematic process. A curriculum design is a composed of desired outcomes. Number 10, curriculum development starts from where the curriculum is. Curriculum planners and designers should begin with existing curriculum. An existing design is a good starting point of any teacher who plans the enhance and enrich a curriculum. Elements of components of curricula design. First, the behavioral objectives or intended learning outcomes. The behavioral objectives, intended learning outcomes, or desired learning outcomes are action words found in the revised Bloom's taxonomy of objectives. Number two, the content or subject matter. The content of the lesson or unit is the topic or subject matter that will be covered. Number three, the references. The references follows the content. It tells where the content or subject matter has been taken. Number four, teaching and learning methods. These are the activities where the learners derive experience. It is always good to keep in mind the teaching strategies that students will experience: lectures, laboratory, classes, fieldwork, etc. Number five, assessment or evaluations. Learning occurs most effectively when students receive a feedback, when they receive information on what they have already and have not learned. Next, application of the fundamental components to other curriculum designs. We have four major components of course design or syllabus. First, intended outcomes or objectives. Two, content subject matter with references. Three, methods or strategies with needed resources. Number four, evaluation or means of assessment. Lesson 2. Approaches to curriculum designing. Types of curriculum designs models. There are many ways of looking at curriculum designing. One, for our own purposes, let us focus on the most widely used examples of number one, subject-centered design. This is a curriculum design that focuses on the content of the curriculum. The subject-centered design corresponds mostly to the textbook because textbooks are usually written based the specific subject or course. Subject design. Subject design. These are two simple questions that are the teacher and the learner can easily answer. It is because they are familiar with the subject design curriculum. Number two, the discipline design. Discipline design model of curriculum is often used in college, but not in the elementary or secondary levels. Curriculation design. Coming from a core or correlated curriculum design, links separate subject design in order to reduce fragmentation. For broad field design or interdisciplinary, sometimes called holistic curriculum. Broad fields draw around themes and integrations. Next.
Wait lang ah. Napindot.
Di na. Number two, the learner-centered design. Here are examples of curriculum design with our learner-centered, child-centered design, the experience-centered design, humanistic design, and the problem-centered design, and life situations design. And number three, the core problem designs. The child-centered design, okay. Child-centered design is often attributed to the influence of John Dewey or Rossi. The experience-centered design, this design similar to the child-centered design, although the focus remains to be the child. And number three, the humanistic design. The key influence in this curriculum design in Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. Number four, the problem-centered design. And number three, the problem-centered design. Generally, problem-centered design draws on social problems, needs, interests, and abilities of the learners. Life situation design is unique is that contents are organized in a way that allows students clearly problem areas. The core problem designs it centers on general education and the problem are based on the common human activities. Next, module 4.
So, good evening. The module 4 is the teacher as a curriculum implementation and manager. Next po. So, lesson 1 is implementing the design as a change process. Lesson 2 is implementing a curriculum daily in the classroom. Curriculum implementation means putting into practice the written curriculum that has been designed in syllabi, course of study, curricular guides and subjects, categories of curriculum change. McNeil in 1990 categorized curriculum change as follows. First is substitution. So the substitution is the current curriculum will be replaced or substituted by a new one. Like for example, changing an old book to the entirely new new one. So next is alteration. The alteration is, in alteration, there is a minor change to the current or existing curriculum. Example is, instead of using a graphing paper for mathematics teaching, this can be altered by using a graphing paper. So the restructuring is, building a new structure would mean major change or modification in the school system, degree program, or educational system. Example is using an integrated curriculum for the whole school for K to 12 requires the primary and secondary levels to work as a team. Next is perturbation. These are changes that are disrupted, but teachers have to adjust to them within a fairly short time. Example is, if the principal changed the time schedule because there is a need to catch up with the national testing time, the teacher has to shorten schedule to accommodate unplanned extracurricular activities. Next is value orientation. Value orientation is, this clarification will respond to shift in the emphasis that the teacher provides which are not within the mission or vision of the school or vice versa. Example is, when youth teachers who are recruited in religious give emphasis on academic and forget the information of faith, need curriculum value orientation. So next po. Next. So the process of change may contain three important elements. First is developmental. The developmental should develop multi-perspective and make learning autonomous. There should be teacher support in trying new tasks, reflection on the new experience and challenge. Second is participatory. The participatory is for curriculum implementation to succeed because other stakeholders like peers, school
Hello, I.
nadula signal. Sorry.
Okay na, continue lang.
Wait lang. Hindi ko pa makita ang PowerPoint.
Okay na, kita mo na.
Hindi ko pa makita, Ling.
Wait lang. Are, kita mo. Kita mo?
Wala gyapon. Wala.
Makita niyo, Ate Yesa?
Ako makita ko.
Sino ba makita?
Okay na.
Okay na? Sige.
Definition ko, Abdi.
Sige.
So, second is participatory. So, the participatory is for the curriculum implementation to succeed because other stakeholders like peers, school leader, parents, and curriculum specialized necessary. Third is supported. The supported is curriculum implementation is required in the process of change. material support like supplies, equipment, conduct learning environment like classroom, laboratory made available. Next po. Lesson 2 is implementing curriculum daily in the classroom. DepEd Order Number 70, 2012, teachers of all public elementary and secondary school will not be required to prepare detailed lesson plan. They may adopt daily lesson logs. So the main parts of the lesson plan is objectives or intended learning outcomes. So the objectives of intended learning outcomes is time is an important, wait lang po. Intended learning outcomes is the learner will be able to do upon successfully completing their studies. Next is subject matter. Subject matter is teacher must understand the central concepts of inquiry and structures of the disciplines taught and be able to create learning experience that make this aspect of subject matter meaningful for students. Third is procedure or strategies. Procedure or strategies of teaching. So the procedure is the body of your lesson plan, the ways in which you share information with students, and the methods you'll use to ensure for mastery of that material.
No. Ay.
Naman ko na wait lang. Tatanong ko ano ang PowerPoint. Loading. Assessment of learning outcomes. So the assessment of learning outcomes refers to stages designed to confirm what students know and state whether or not they have the goal of their individualized program. Make decision as to their future program or placements. Last is assignment or agreement. So, next. Next. So, and then the learning outcomes. The level of knowledge, number one is factual knowledge. So the factual knowledge is the basic elements students must know to be time with a discipline or solve problems. Second is conceptual knowledge, the interrelationship among the basic elements within a structure enable them to function together. Number three, procedural knowledge, how to do something methods or inquiry and criteria for releasing skills, algorithm, techniques, and methods. Number 4 is cognitive knowledge. Knowledge of cognition in general as well as awareness and knowledge of one's own cognition. Next po. So, intended learning outcomes. Intended learning outcomes should be written in a smart way, is specific. So the specific is sometimes referred to as learning objective or statements that describe the competencies that student classes upon of a course. Second is measurable. Hindi ko na ang PowerPoint. Wala akong signal.
Tututod ka.
Okay.
Diretso lang ay mas
Sige
Sige lang, diretso lang.
So, balik on na lang. Intended learning outcomes should be written in a smart way. This is specific. So, the specific learning is objective should be defined and it states exactly what to accomplish. Learning objective has been reached, how much it has been stated by, how much it has fallen short. At third is attainable. The attainable will accomplish.
Hello.
Nadula si Maskete.
Oo, nalula. Ano na. Diretso na lang, module 6 na.
Module 6 na lang, reporter.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. For Module 6, the outcome-based education basis for enhanced teacher education curriculum. Lesson 1, outcome-based education basis for teacher preparation curriculum. What is outcome-based education? In 1994, the WSPD defined OBE as clearly focusing and organizing everything in the education system around the essential for all students to do successfully at the end of their learning experiences. A clear picture of what is important for students to be able to do, then organizing the curriculum, instructions, and assessment to make sure the learning happens. So, in short, it is a process that focuses on what is to be learned or the outcomes of the students at the end of the learning through their knowledge, understanding, skills, and attitude. Next, please. So there are 4 essential principles in outcome-based education. So which is important to be followed in planning, instruction, teaching, assessing, and learning. For principle 1, the clarity of focus. It is a clear focus on what teachers want students to learn is the primary principle in OBE. So it means that all activities, including teaching, assessment, are geared towards what we want students to demonstrate. For the principle 2, designing backwards. This principle is related to the first. At the beginning of the curriculum design, the learning outcome has to be clearly defined. So, what students are expected to learn and able to do to create lessons that is achieve those goals. For the principle 3, the high expectations. So it is establishing high expectations, challenging to standards of performance will encourage students to learn better. So it is to encourage students to engage deeply in what they are learning. The teacher should establish a high challenging education standard or of performance. For the principle 4, expanded opportunities. In OBE, all students are expected to excel. Hence, equal expanded opportunities should be provided. Means expanding the ways and numbers of times kids get a chance to learn and demonstrate a particular outcomes. Next, please. So, teaching, learning, and OBE. So what is teaching, learning, and OBE? Teaching is teaching if learners learn. The intent should focus on learning rather than the teaching. So it can be called teaching depends on what the learners learn, or nasusukat ito or sinusukat based on the outcome. So the intent one focus, so sa pag-aral or learning na mag-aral kaysa sa pagkatuto or teaching. So here are some tips for assessment. First, teacher must prepare students adequately. So the teacher must know what they want the students to learn and the learning outcomes to achieve. For number 2, teacher must create a positive learning environment. So the connection of teachers and student is very important. The teacher should let the students feel that they are always there to help them. For the third, teacher must help their students to understand what they have to learn, why they should learn it, and how they know that they have learned. So from the beginning of the lesson, the teacher must know the learnings. As a teacher, it is important to help the students to understand the lesson by giving them an examples that should help them to understand properly. For the last, teacher must use a variety of teaching methods. So teachers must use an appropriate strategies or techniques to consider the contents characteristic of the students. Next, please. So the learner's responsibility for learning. In OBE, students are responsible for their own learning and progress. It is only the learner himself, herself, who can drive himself, herself to learn. Thus, learning is a personal matter. So students have the bigger responsibility to achieve those outcomes. In this way, they will be able to know whether they are learning or not. Teacher can only facilitate that learning, define the learning outcomes to be achieved, and assess students to achieve those outcomes. Through OBE, students are aware of what they should be learning, why are they learning it, what they are actually learning and why they should do when they are learning. Next, please. Thank you.
Hello. For the Module 7, Curricular Landscape in the 21st Century Classrooms. Emerging Curricula of the 21st Century Learners. Discussion in various groups here and abroad revolves along the different issues. So this is the global issues. First, globalization of economies and independence on international markets. So this include JDP or trading system. Second, increased concerns and actions about environmental degradation, water and energy shortages, global warming, pandemic, or like HIV, Ebola, and etc. So we are facing now pandemic, di ba? So increased concerns and actions na lang kay ang iba niya government is kulang gyapon ang action about this pandemic. Third, nations competing for power block, thus generating conflict but gives opportunities to build alliances and cooperation. Fourth, increase global migration and opportunities for working overseas. Fifth, science and technological revolution. And lastly, knowledge economy as a generator of wealth and jobs. So these are the global issues. All these issues need a curriculum that will address global solutions to environmental problems, environmental sustainability, cultural diversity, global conflicts, technology revolution, and science breakthrough. The curriculum for the century should inspire and challenge both the teacher and the learner. These are some of the characteristics of this curriculum. It is a curriculum that first provides appropriate knowledge, skills, and values to face the future. Second, based on knowledge drawn from research. Third, a product of consultative, collaborative development process. Fourth, support excellence and equity for all learners. So these are the characteristics, needs for the curriculum. Need to develop 21st century skills of learners in the curriculum. Cluster of skills for the 21st century. Cluster of skills. First, learning and innovation skills. So the specific description of learning and innovation skills are critical thinking and problem solving. Second, knowledge, information, media, and technology literacy. So these include content mastery, information literacy, media literacy, and ICT literacy. Fourth, life skills. Life skills, flexibility and adaptability, initiative and self-direction, teamwork and collaboration, social and cross-cultural skills, productivity and accountability. So lastly, citizenship skills. Citizenship skills includes valuing and diversity, global awareness, environmental awareness, values, ethics, and professionalism. So let's proceed to the 5 frames of thinking. So dapat may ganito tayong pag-iisip. First, the disciplined mind. Second, the synthesizing mind. Third, the creating mind. Fourth, the respectful mind. And last, the ethical mind. So the disciplined mind make use of the ways of thinking necessary for major scholarly work and profession. The synthesizing mind selects crucial information from the voluminous amounts available, processing such information in the ways that make sense to self and others. The creating mind goes beyond existing knowledge, poses new questions, offers new solutions. The respectful mind sympathetically and constructively adjusts to individual differences. And last, the ethical mind considers one's role as citizen consistently and strives toward good work and good citizenship. So Tony Wagner, in his book, The Global Achievement Gap, mentioned the 7 survival skills for the 21st century curriculum. So these are the 7 survival skills for the 21st century. First, critical thinking and problem solving. Second, collaboration across networks and leading by influence. And third, agility and adaptability. Fourth, initiative and entrepreneurship. Fifth, effective oral and written communication. 6, accessing and analyzing information. And 7, curiosity and imagination. So under the just a cluster of skills for the 21st century. Okay, that's all for tonight. Hello?
Tapos na.
Oo.
Tapos na, ma'am.
Tapos na.
Ako to na tapos ako ba pili na mag-liwan.
Di, okay naman to ay. Sige, gusto mo? Sige. Module 4 ka, di ba? 4?
4.
Wait lang. Module 4. Wait lang. Dali ka na ay. Kita mo?
Sa spot.
Kita mo? Okay.
Na. Kaya ako sa okay. Students have different learning style, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So the visual is style involves the choice of scene or observed things, even pictures, diagrams, demonstrations, display, handouts, films, flip chart, and etc. Sa auditory is style
Stop ko na ni Bona. Bon. Stop ko na.